Alright, so there are a few things that distinguishes an amateur programmer with a real enterprise level developer. And this is what we train everyone, and this is what all of our software engineers know how to do. So this is a big selling point. A lot of amateur programmers, for example, they just write the code, and if something goes wrong, then they're like, okay, I don't know, it was just working yesterday. What did I do? So they go back and try to find it. When multiple developers are working on a single file, for example, maybe they change something and all of a sudden it breaks, and you're like, okay, we were screwed up. We have this site, and it was working 2 days ago, and now it's totally broken. I don't know what happened, right? Okay, that happens all the time for amateur programmers. And for enterprise level, we use what's called version control. So every single time that someone makes a change in the program, you commit the code. It saves each revision, and the first commit or first change that you do is called version 1, and then the second change is version 2, version 3, and so forth. So what that allows you to do is we can do some cool things, like whenever someone makes a change, it would email the differences and say, hey, this line was removed and this line was added, and this is what the user did. They can type a message. So it allows everyone to know what has been changed and what the new features were implemented. So imagine you're the product owner and you get an email whenever the codes are changed along with description about what the change was about. It's really nice for the product owner because they're in full loop with what's happening with the project. But also, you get to know who made what change, when it was changed, and here's a cool thing. So let's say, hey, this was working just yesterday. What do? All you have to do is you just type in, for example, svn update -r. Let's go back to revision 2 because revision 2 was working. So you just type that, and then it goes back to revision 2. So if something was broken, you just fix it. While you're fixing it, you turn it back to whatever version was working, and then you can go on, and you don't have to worry that the codes are broken because you just revert the codes back to the previous working version. Version control is awesome. Now that also allows you to do a few things, like you can set up a server called, for example, a staging server, and you can put the latest codes there, and you can have the QA guys go and test all the codes and make sure everything is working before you update the production server. So for example, this is how it works. The staging server, let's say the most recent version is 1100. Okay, so staging server would have 1100. We go and we test it, and then we find some bugs, we fix it, and we made 5 changes. So now version is 1105, right? Okay, so once everything works, then we go to production and say, okay, I want to update production server with code 1105. Okay, and then you update the production server. So before the update occurred, production server would have been running whatever stable version, whatever the previous stable version is. So that way you can, again, test things on staging before you make sure that all the codes are pushed forward in the production server. Production server is where like people really see when they go to your website. Alright, so version control, very critical. On every single project, you have to have version control. If you don't, you're an amateur programmer, and you're just risking yourselves big time because, if something again breaks, then, like you have to go back and see. Also, when something breaks, and when you know certain features are broken, you can look at the code. Like let's say you got 100 lines of code, you can see, okay, the first 50 lines of code was written by Mark, the next 20 was written by John, and so forth. So you can see, if you have any question, any developer can go in and see who wrote it and then go ask that person as well. So this is just super awesome. Everyone should use it, but most of the amateur programmers and certainly those in overseas don't know how to use it, except our ability to get people. Alright, so big selling point. It's important to know this, and important to emphasize the benefit of using version control to the client if they already don't know. And most likely, if they haven't worked with enterprise level people, they wouldn't know what version control is. So you need to explain what the benefits are. Okay, thanks.